Hey, what's up everyone? This is going to be my 8th favorite moment in anime for 2012, and I chose episode 272 of Naruto Shippuden, which is when it's Mifune versus Hanzo. And in this video, it starts off with them fighting, and when they fight, they say a couple things to each other. Mifune says that he thinks people are like blades. And Hanzo asks him, why are you fighting for the shinobi? How can you consider yourself a samurai? And then he replies by saying, we are not fighting for the shinobi. We are fighting for the idea of peace that is behind it. And then they run off, start fighting again. Hanzo tries to do an ultimate attack on him with his chain and scythe, and then he counteracts it, and he asks him, how did you counteract that? And Mifune says, you may not remember me, but we did fight once before. And then he remembers, and he's like, oh, so you're that guy. And then they separate again, and right before Hanzo can weave any signs for anything, Mifune gets right in his face and stops him right then and there. And then a few seconds later, after talking, he asks him, don't you remember how you died? And then he remembers that Yahiko was there, and he's asking him, how are you here? I remember seeing you die. And he tells him that, I used to respect you, but you lost your conviction over time, and you became a selfish old man and piece of trash that does things for his own selfish gain and money. And then that's when it ends right there, and then he's just standing there, just completely lost, and then they separate again, and then they go right at each other, and Hanzo ends up on the ground with his blade cut up in pieces and everything, and then he's wondering, how did he do that? Is he really that fast? And then Mifune says, people are like blades. You lost your conviction over time, so your blade became dull and dried up from the blood. And then Hanzo started having a flashback of how things were when they first fought, how Mifune was on the ground and Hanzo was above him and told him, you may die within 2 days from the poison that was on my blade. And then he asks him, why did you attack me, considering your comrades just ran away and left you, didn't even try to fight alongside of you? And then he tells him, you are one of the strongest guys I have fought for a long time. And then he asks Mifune for his name so then he could spread words around, call him a hero, talking about how strong he was and everything. And he asks Hanzo for only one thing. He says, I'm going to ask you for only one thing, and that is for you to spare my comrades. And then Hanzo gets on the ground and he has this kind of like emotionally moved or positive look on his face, or just surprised. And then he bends over and hands over the antidote to Mifune. And the reason he did was simply because it's like people say, you don't know someone's true self until they are near death. And when he hands him the antidote, he says he may die from another cause, but he's going to use it as a test to see if he either dies without losing any of his convictions, or he lives losing his convictions over time. And he talked about his own personal dream, how he wishes to make the world a peaceful place and combine all the shinobi forces into one. And then that's where it ends up right there. And after seeing all that stuff, remembering who he originally was, what his original dreams were, why he became so strong, and what he wanted to do with his life originally, he realized what he needed to do. So he started walking off and says, Mifune, I knew there was a reason why you lived. A good reason. And then, as soon as he gets on the ground, he grabs one of the blade pieces from earlier and cuts himself open. Even though the blood can't kill him, it can paralyze him. And right before then, he looks up and says, Mifune, I entrust all of my conviction in you. And then, right before they seal him up, he tells Hanzo, you regain all of your convictions through your sacrifice right here. And then they seal him up, and he says, I knew you weren't given a proper burial before, but I think we should give you one now. And that moment when he said, I entrust all of my conviction in you, was like just my favorite moment right there. And I just really like the episode overall because we got to know more about Mifune, his past and everything. One of the most important events in his life probably were. And also Hanzo redeemed himself. You know, he became his old original self and remembered, you know, why he did everything he did, what was the original reason and purpose for his life. And that was a way to redeem himself. And probably in the afterlife he might have ended up in a better place now, you know, or at least afterwards. So thanks again for watching this video, everyone. Make sure you subscribe and hit that like button. Don't forget to check out everyone else's channel in the description below if you haven't already. This is Anime Central VHG, and I'll see you guys.